Welcome to another video. So we've discussed what is Wagyu right here on our channel before, and when we did that we had a beef on the rail. It was American Wagyu. We talked a lot in that video about American versus Japanese. Well, today we're going to actually show you a direct comparison between American Wagyu beef and Japanese Wagyu beef, and do a little bit of explaining what the difference is when you see the word Wagyu, whether it's on a cut of meat, on a menu, help you understand. Now, there's a lot of information in the previous video, what is Wagyu? You can reference that. We're going to give you more of a brief description today, but the big thing is we're going to show you the comparison. So, this is the Japanese A5 Wagyu. First thing, comes with a certificate of authenticity. Now, this particular livestock that produced this ribeye section spent its entire life living in the country of Japan. It was butchered there and shipped directly to us. Now, we have a direct resource in Kai Wagyu is the name of the farm. Kai Wagyu, we'll put a link in the description. You can actually order this same product straight to your home. But they're in California, so they get it directly shipped to them from California. So this particular animal right here spent its entire life in the country of Japan. Now that alone leads us to one of the biggest differences between Japanese A5 Wagyu and American Wagyu. Japanese A5 Wagyu are pure Japanese genetics directly resourced from the country of origin. So this animal was born there, raised there, and the reason why these have such incredible marbling, take a look at that right there, is because the Wagyu breed of beef has a gene that is switched on. That gene causes them to marble tremendously. So there's your 100% pure Japanese A5. Next to it, we have what we call American Wagyu. Now this comes from Sakura Farms right here in Ohio. This too you can have shipped directly to your door. We'll put a link in the description. This animal was born and raised right here in North America. Now the difference between the marbling in these two is usually quite dramatic. American Wagyu is simply Wagyu genetics married to American beef. So it can be in varying contents, whereas you have 100% pure, unadulterated Japanese genetics right here. You have essentially Japanese genetics influencing an American breed of beef. Most times it's Angus, and it can be in varying amounts, and that's what leads to higher marbling in this one and lower marbling in this one. We're going to taste these two after Seth gets them cut up and talk a little bit about the taste differences. But generally with the American Wagyu, most times you're going to be looking at a 50-50 genetic blend. 50% American, 50% Japanese genetics tied together. So we'll see what they look like once Seth chops into them.
So Scott told me to just work and not talk, so I've been doing my best to not talk.
No, I said work while I'm talking, so that way people have something to watch.
All right. So typically what we do when we cut the Kobe, the A5, is we cut them pretty thin because we try to make it a more affordable cut for the consumer. So we'll just get started by cutting these fairly thin.
Plus it's extremely rich, so you generally don't want massive chunks.
Right. So we're going to go about 1/2 of an inch thick here. And Scott mentioned doing the cooking comparison. We are going to cut a couple of the American Wagyu the same thickness so that we can do our cooking and eating comparison. These are a lot of fun to cut. Obviously, there's some stress involved because they are so expensive. But
oh, Seth, you're not stressed.
no.
You've done this many times.
Well, I should say the first time I cut one, it was a little stressful.
See the trick that he did there? He held that over against the other one so you could get two nice uniform steaks. Pro tip,
Little
Seth?
tricks of the trade. So that wraps up the A5. Now it's time to get started on the American. So with the American, we typically cut these steaks a little bit thicker, but I will cut a couple, like mentioned, thinner like the A5 for the taste comparison. So you can see the difference between the two so far. And once I get these cut, I'll get them laid out here on the table so you can see the side by side. So now let's cut a couple thinner ones for the taste comparison. So that wraps up the cutting of the American and the A5. Then what I'm going to do is we'll get the American down here. Which two would you like? A couple right in the center. And
Well, I'm the accountant, so I'd say we probably like just one, sir.
Yeah. Well, you can do that.
Okay.
I don't know what you're going to eat, but
So obviously massive difference here in marbling. And just to be clear, this is Sakura Farms' signature line. They have a line above it. They grade these, so they'll have the reserve, which has even more marbling. But what I want to point out to you, because we see a lot of prime cattle that are going to have marbling just like this, and so some might say, well, that type of marbling is already in prime cattle. True, but what we have here is this fat is actually going to have a much lower melting temperature, melt in your mouth. That's that umami that we talk about with the Wagyu, the 5 senses. That's the same fat that's going to be in here, so that genetic transition is going to happen. So this marbling will actually, in fact, be better. So here's the side-by-side. You see the bigger, beefier. This should have a bigger, beefier flavor, but still have some melt in your mouth. This is literally just going to have that melt in your mouth flavor. So the only thing left to do at this point, now that we've seen them cut, is see them cooked, tasted, and then we'll give you our taste opinion on these two.
let's cook some up. It's time to grill up the A5 Kobe ribeyes and the American Wagyu ribeyes. Today, we're using a new grill. This is made by Brio. It's an outdoor fire pit. It's a grill. It has a sear plate on it. We have it fired with hickory firewood, just like you see right here in the background. Pretty cool unit. It's 100% American made by the great folks out in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So not only does it work as a grill, has a fantastic sear plate on it. You can take the sear plate off, you can use it as a fire pit, and it has a really cool feature built into the grill that actually makes it a smokeless unit. So as you can see, we have a nice size fire built in here, but there's very minimal smoke, and it's designed that way through airflow. Also has a fantastic grate that goes over top of the fire. You can put steaks, burgers, etc. right on there. This is removable. You can take this off. You can stick it in your yard. You can use this, however you want, on the grill, off the grill. It's completely up to you. So 100% American made, stainless, and today we're gonna cook the ribeye steaks on it.
So I just lathered up this paper towel with a little bit of pork lard to get that sear plate seasoned up. We're gonna let that burn off. and then when the steaks are on, it'll be a nice non-stick surface.
That's the American, and that's the Kobe A5. My accountant told me that I'm only allowed to cook two, one of each, so he cut it back on me. Originally I had 2 and 2, but we got that cut back. So Josh is going to be running timer for me. We're going to throw these on the sear plate. We're doing 90 seconds on the first side. We'll flip it and then see where we're at. This heat plate, if we had an infrared, I bet you this thing's at 1,000 plus easily. We're going to put these on the sear plate. It's been pre-seasoned with pork lard, and there's no seasoning on these now. We're simply going to sear them off right here on our sear plate.
We talk about the 5 senses, the umami with the A5 Wagyu. So he already did sight, number 1. You're about to hear sound,
Sizzle.
and then you're going to get smell, and then you're going to get taste, and then you're going to get mouthfeel, or taste and mouthfeel at the same time. So all 5 senses come with that. That's that umami.
We're just about ready to be enlightened by our 5 senses. So the American's going on first. Are we ready for the sizzle? I'll put the Kobe on that side.
So there's the sound, and then there's the smell.
And Josh is going to let me know when 90 seconds is up, and we're going to flip these babies. Make sure they're not sticking. Good there. We're good there. They're thin, and they're going to cook fast. Where are we at, Josh?
45 seconds left.
I feel like they're going to have a
Don't be afraid to change it.
pretty incredible crust on them.
Don't be afraid to peek. Yeah.
How we look?
Flip them, Dave. You can go.
Will you flip them?
Oh, for sure.
Oh my. So you want to count me down probably another probably no more than 60 seconds. So we're talking like under 3 minutes on these.
Yep.
That's why we wanted to use the Brio for these, because we wanted this sear plate. We wanted that hot fire with a sear plate, get that nice crust on there. How you boys feeling?
Yep, that's another 45.
Okay, I'm gonna flip one more time. Oh my, look at that. I think we're done. I can see the nice medium rare to rare right there. Calling it?
Yeah, I agree.
Talk about some instant results. That's probably the fastest I've ever cooked a steak.
Now we let them rest. We're going to put out some different piles of seasoning, some plain salt, and all of our favorite Bearded Butcher blend spices, and have a little
Sample them up.
sampling contest.
All right, these have rested for a few minutes. It's time to get them sliced up. I think I'm just gonna slice the whole steak. So I'm gonna start down here at the end, make some nice serving size slices. This is the A5. Look at that. You gentlemen approve?
Yeah, I think you did all right.
I do approve.
He can cut and he can cook.
So the idea here is we put out those different piles of spices. We have our 4 top selling Bearded Butcher blend spices, as well as just plain salt. So we can get a true sense of the beef. Oh my, Seth.
You like that? Now, I know which piece I would go for first.
Well, you cut
Like-
and cook.
Like that cap right there. So
So in my
All right,
case,
gentlemen.
I'm actually going to go for the American first, simply because that A5 will overwhelm your senses, and it may cloud our vision a little bit. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of the salt.
Dip in there, Joshua.
Oh
Suppose
my!
I'll follow suit.
Fantastic. I mean, a steak. You buy it at a restaurant. You take your first bite, and you're like, worth every penny. That's what I mean. The big thing with American Wagyu is it's going to have your beefier tones to
There
it.
it is.
Tastes like beef.
Tastes like beef.
And then with our A5 Wagyu, we expect to get that real mouthwash, velvety smooth, just incredible. Oh,
I'm gonna try the Brock,
there you go.
being our salt forward
Oh,
seasoning.
that is so good. It's literally like red velvet cake, but beef. I mean, take some of the best
Oh.
experiences that you've ever had around food, centered around food, whether they're desserts, and it's centralized and focused right into a piece of product like this.
That American is so good. Reminds me of a good high quality steak at a restaurant. This A5, just complete euphoria.
Adding in the Bearded Butcher Bun flavor gives some different profiles to it too, which is really fun. Gonna have just like a little bit of a smorgasbord.
The A5 you can definitely wow your friends and family with if you cook it and serve up even just these small pieces
And this
like
is
this.
a great way to do it. You buy one steak. You're not going to sit there and want to eat a ton of it. You just want to grab a nice steak, cut it up like this. Everybody can get around and enjoy it.
So I'm gonna try some without any salt or seasoning as well. So Kobe and American.
I just did that with the A5. I'll do it with the American.
Yeah. So just plain beef. So good.
All right, I'm gonna stop.
It has such an overwhelming texture,
Spencer,
flavor.
man.
Yeah, Spencer's turn.
we gotta get a little salt on there too. We've got Lissy over here running camera too. So Lissa,
Ooh.
Don't cut your finger.
Yeah,
don't-
be the one to cut
there
my
you go.
finger. Ooh, thank you.
you're welcome.
That's pretty good.
Fantastic.
Here you go, Spencer.
So-
You need one more, just a
Oh,
dab,
yes.
just a dab of the salt on there.
Won't say no to that.
You already have a Band-Aid on your finger. You don't, you don't need cut anymore. So what flavors of seasonings did you guys dip?
I've had everything but black right now. The seasonings, obviously, they just layer in different profiles. I mean, originals just got your garlic powder and your onion powder. Butter's got that natural butter flavor. Black has the richness of the molasses and coffee, and then Brock's more salt forward, and garlic, like Josh mentioned. They all add a little something extra without taking anything away.
And something that we weren't going to do was pre-seasoning these before we grilled them. So we wanted to give 100% just the meat on the grill before we did anything. But
Boy, we kind of hammered through those.
Yeah, we did.
I know everybody else at the shop was probably expecting us to bring some back, but I'm not sure if there's going to be any
Yeah,
left.
we're gonna have to do that. So we hope we described the difference between American Wagyu, Japanese A5 Wagyu, A5 being the top level. And when you see Kobe, Kobe's the region in Japan that they came from. Again, reference our other video, What is Wagyu, for even more details. But hopefully this adds some clarity. We think both are amazing. Both are great choices if you see them on a menu. Hopefully you can understand a little bit better. And paired with Bearded Butcher Blend, even better.
Kai Farms and Sakura are both available online. They ship directly to your door. The links will be in the description below. So you can get these products shipped right to your door.
So, thanks for watching. The Bearded Butchers, America's Butchers. That grill is hot behind me.
Sure
that
is.
sun is hot.
My back
I
is
need to get
sweating.
into the shade. This was amazing. See you next time.
See ya.
He always does that, and then I
Don't see it.